Okay, right. Started off. Fine. Mm, so last class we have been discussing about your open channel flow. So what are the different types of channels and what are the different types of flows? So basic introduction you have seen. Today we will start with channel geometry. So what are the properties of the channel geometries? If you want to see the basic properties, is it visible? So normally we have seen two types of channels, natural channels and artificial channels. So artificial channels are usually lined channels, or else you can say
The
line.
screen is not shared, man.
Get the man with the plan right here. So here you can see natural and lined channels. Issue is there. I don't know what happened. Just a minute. Okay. So now here you can see what are the conditions for the channel geometry. So if you are taking channel geometry, normally we take two channels. One is natural and other one is lined channel. So lined channels and natural channels. So what are the conditions for those lined and natural channel? If you are taking natural channel sections, they are usually irregular in shape. Whereas if we are taking lined channel section, they have a regular shape. Okay, regular shape in the sense either it can be trapezoidal or it could be a rectangular or it could be circular. It can be of any shape. And normally we go for using the trapezoidal channel section. So trapezoidal channel section is the one which we normally go for. And these channel sections are usually built of any type of material such as lined material, rocks, metals and timber and other things. So that if you are taking a cross section of the channel, suppose I'm plotting a rectangular channel. So here rectangular channel, considering the depth of the flow as y. Let us take the total depth from bottom to. Get the men with the plan right. So here let us take y is the depth of the flow, and the vertical distance from the water surface to the lowest point of the channel section is called your depth of flow, and the stage is nothing but elevation. So stage is nothing but elevation, or the vertical distance from the free surface is nothing but your stage, and T is the top width. T is nothing but your top width of the channel is nothing but your T, and water area is nothing but your cross sectional area. Cross sectional area is nothing but your water area, or you can say if you are taking
Excuse me, ma'am.
rectangular section. Yeah.
Ma'am, your writing is not visible on the screen.
Writing is not visible. What happened?
Ma'am, can you share the screen instead of sharing whiteboard directly, ma'am?
Okay. Whether this screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So here you can see the naturals and the trapezoid. I mean, different types of the channels, and we have seen the depth of the flow, and your stage is the elevation or the vertical distance of the free surface, and top width is the T is the top width. Then water area is nothing but cross sectional area. Suppose if this is a rectangular channel, then T into Y is nothing but your water area. And what is the wetted perimeter? Wetted perimeter is or length of the line of intersection of channel wetting the surface. So whatever is the surface which is wetting, actually, suppose drawing tools is not available here. Okay, I'll draw it in some other thing. So here wetted perimeter is nothing but your suppose for a rectangular channel you can have a wetted perimeter as so I don't know, some problem with my vacuum pad. Anyway, I will discuss. I'm unable to draw it on the board. But the wetted perimeter is length of line of intersection of the channel with a cross-sectional plane normal to the direction of the flow. So what do you mean by that? If you are having a channel and if you are able to suppose suppose you are taking a rectangular channel in which I'll show you this. You are having a rectangular channel having width as B, depth as D, then B plus 2D is nothing but your wetted perimeter. So your wetted perimeter is nothing but, why it is B plus 2D? B is the width of the channel, D is both the sides you are having. So whatever the surface which is wetting along the intersection and it is perpendicular to the direction of flow, then that is nothing but your wetted perimeter. So if it is a rectangular channel, this P plus 2D.
Ma'am,
Then similarly, yeah.
your screen
Yeah.
is not visible, ma'am.
The screen is not visible. I don't know what happened. If whatever I am sharing, if your people are telling not visible, I don't know. This is B, this is D, and this is D again. So B plus 2D. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Wetted perimeter is nothing but for a rectangular channel. D is the width of the channel, D is the depth of the channel. So twice D if you are putting, then this is going to be your wetted perimeter. Now come back to the earlier discussion. So now your wetted perimeter is the length of the line of intersection of channel, which is wetting the surface with the cross-sectional plane normal to the direction of flow. So whatever the direction which is normal to the direction of flow, you have to take. It is not in the inclined direction, you have to take only normal to the direction of flow. Now what is the hydraulic mean radius? It is nothing but these are the essential parameters. You should know all these things. Parameters should be known. Then only you'll be able to design the channels. So hydraulic radius is the area divided by cross-sectional area divided by perimeter. Perimeter is nothing but your wetted perimeter. So hydraulic radius is nothing but ratio of area divided by wetted perimeter. And hydraulic depth is the ratio of area divided by T top width of the channel. That is something but hydraulic depth. Then section factor is Z, which is a product of water area and the square root of hydraulic depth. Square root of hydraulic depth is D, capital D. Capital D is nothing but A by T. A by T is cross-sectional area of the flow divided by T is the top width. Okay, then you will be getting the hydraulic depth. So this hydraulic depth, square root of this hydraulic depth multiplied by A is the cross-sectional area is nothing but your section factor for the critical flow computation. Later on, I will tell you what is meant by critical flow. There are critical flow, subcritical flow, supercritical flow. So we will see what is critical flow in the later sections. Okay. Then in case of uniform flow or section factor, this is a normal this is in case of what is meant by uniform flow? The flow parameters will not change with respect to space. Then it is a uniform flow. So for uniform flow, our section factor is A into R raised to 2 by 3. R raised to 2 by 3. A is the cross-sectional area and R is the hydraulic mean radius. So hydraulic radius is R is equal to A by P. A by P whole raised to 2 by 3 is nothing but our section factor. Now let us see the rectangular channel. See here you can see B is the breadth of the channel, Y is the depth of the channel. Then what will be your area? B into Y is nothing but your area. What is your wetted perimeter? B plus 2Y is nothing but your wetted perimeter. And what will be the top width of the channel? T is equal to B. And what will be the hydraulic radius? Is nothing but A by P. What is A by P? A is B into Y divided by wetted perimeter is B plus 2Y. It is going to be your hydraulic mean radius. Now understood? These are the parameters of your rectangular channel. Or this is the channel geometry. This is the channel geometry of a rectangular channel. Suppose if it is a triangular channel, this is more important. You please note down. This is required wherever. This is a basic for all the designs. Okay. Then triangular channel depth is suppose Y and your top width is T and depth is Y. Or normally we take depth of the flow is always Y. And 1 is to M is the slope of the triangular channel. Then area is equal to what is your area? Area is nothing but My. Your half into My into Y. So this will be nothing but your A is equal to My square. Okay, of BH. So A is equal to My square. And if you are taking perimeter, wetted perimeter is nothing but this width and this length. So the perimeter is nothing but your this is going to be your hypotenuse. If you are taking, then it will be 1 plus M square. 1 square plus M square whole root into Y. Am I right? This is going to be Y into square root of 1 plus M square. So if I am adding or if I am multiplying by 2, because this as well as this, because this is not going to be your wetted perimeter. Perimeter is only this portion as well as this portion. So twice Y into square root of 1 plus M square is nothing but your wetted perimeter of a triangular channel. Now what is the top width? Again top width, because if you are dividing, if you are drawing a perpendicular line here, this is going to be your My and this is going to be your My. Am I right? So if you are adding these two things, then this is going to be your 2My. Top width is going to be 2My. Okay. Now because our perimeter is known, area is known, now hydraulic mean radius is nothing but My square divided by, because A by P it is, My square divided by 2 into Y into square root of 1 plus My square, but Y get cancelled. So I will be having My divided by 2 into square root of 1 plus M square. Okay, so these are the channel parameters for triangular channel. Similarly for trapezoidal channel, your depth is taken as y, side slope is, we are taking the side slope, one vertical, all those things is with respect to one vertical, m horizontal. One vertical, m horizontal, okay. So side slope is one vertical, m horizontal, and the area of this is, if you take, this is going to be again my, so b plus 2my, I think. Top it is going to be b plus 2my, and the area will be nothing but this b plus 2my. So what is the area of the cross-sectional area of the trapezoidal channel? 1 by 2 top width plus bottom width. Sum of top width plus bottom width. Am I right? So this is going to be b plus 2my. Then in that case, 2b plus 2my, then 2 get cancelled. So it will be having b plus my into y. That is going to be the area of the trapezoidal channel. Then perimeter, if you are taking, then perimeter of the trapezoidal channel will be again b, and the side slope, this side length. What is the side length? Again, it is going to be 2y into, sorry, y. This is going, one side length will be y into 1 plus m square. Then if you add twice, then it will be 2y into square root of 1 plus m square. And the hydraulic radius will be your area divided by p. So area is b plus mo into y divided by p plus 2y into square root of 1 plus m square. These are the various parameters of your trapezoidal channel. So normally we use rectangular, and most of the channels we go for, if it is artificial channel or lined channels, normally we prefer trapezoidal channels. Then next we go for circular channels. So if it is a circular channel, then circular channels normally we have, maybe we will see separately circular channel, because I need to show you some values and those things. Maybe circular channels we will see in the next class, but we will complete other three channels. Now you know the parameters for triangular, rectangular, and trapezoidal. Now let us see one problem. Circular channel we will see in the next class, but we will see the other things. Now if you are taking a lined channel, which is trapezoidal in cross section and carrying a discharge of 8 qmax. So your q is going to be 8 qmax, and depth of the channel is 1.2 meter, and the bottom width of the channel is 2 meter, and the side slope of 1.5 horizontal to 1 vertical. So consider the uniform flow. First assumption is the uniform flow, and you need to calculate what is the longitudinal slope of the channel, and what is the average stress, shear stress over the perimeter, and what is the value of equivalent Darcy's for coefficient f, and what is the crude number of the flow, assuming Manning's n is equal to 0.015. Okay, so if you want to do this problem, we need to know what are all the Manning's equation and Darcy's equation. And we will go back to your velocity stress, and then we will come back here. Now you can see here the Manning's formula and the Chezy's formula. Just a reminder. So Manning's formula is V is equal to 1 by N R to the power 2 by 3 S to the power half. And Chezy's formula is V is equal to C into root of RS. So what is Manning's formula? V is the velocity of the flow, R is the hydraulic mean radius, and S is the slope of the channel. Suppose this is going to be your channel, and you are going to be, this is going to be your S. Yes. So here you can see the flow is like this. This is the flow, and suppose let us take Y is the depth of the flow, and you are having a, this is going to be your slope. S is nothing but your slope. Okay, so this is S is nothing but your channel slope. The channel slope is different, channel side slope is different. Suppose if this is the longitudinal slope, this S is going to be your longitudinal slope. Okay, whereas here what we are talking in the previous section, one vertical, M horizontal, this is going to be side slope. And R is the hydraulic mean radius. As you know, what is R? R is equal to A by P. A is the area, P is the wetted perimeter, and N is the Manning's roughness coefficient. And what are the Manning's roughness coefficient for various material? We can see on the right hand side. Okay, the Manning's roughness coefficient, actually it is a calibrated value. So based on the roughness of the section, the value differs. We can see glazed coating of enameled timber. Again, conditions: plain borders, plain boards with workmanship, non-plain boards of inferior workmanship. You can see the value different. 0.0. If it is in perfect order, it is 0.01. Otherwise, the value of roughness is increasing up to 0.018. So if it is non-plain board, inferior workmanship, it is 0.018. Similarly, masonry if you take. So what is a masonry? Masonry generally it is either cement masonry or lime masonry, you can talk. If you are mixing cement with the sand, it is called masonry, right? So either masonry, you have neat cement plaster, sand and cement plaster, concrete and steel, and then concrete, wood and trowel, and bricks in good condition, then brick in rough condition, and masonry in bad condition. You can see all these conditions in which you are having various values of roughness. So the value of N is depending upon the condition of the channel. This is represents the condition of the channel. So what material has been used? Similarly, stone work, you can see smooth and this dressed stone, rubble set and fine and well. So you can see the values is increasing. Then earthen materials are having the maximum roughness, because earthen material always has the more roughness when you are comparing to the plain materials. Okay, so stone timber is plain, very plain. Masonry is somewhat rough more than that, and stones are more rough, and earthen materials are more rough than this. That is why if you are seeing the maximum value, only this earthen materials are having the maximum value of roughness. In poor condition, you can see 0.035, and then partially obstructed with debris, then it is 0.05. Okay, so 0.35, 0.05, 0.03, you can see the maximum value. In ordinary conditions with the stones and weeds, if it is with the stones and weeds, suppose if the channel is having various stones and the weeds, then you can say roughness value is somewhat around 0.03. Okay, so then similarly steel, suppose you are going for steel lining, what we are actually using is we are lining the channel. So the material, lining material is how we are going to design. Okay, for that we need to know the roughness values of this lining material. And then the steel, if you choose what is this, suppose welded steel, riveted steel, then slightly tuberculated and cement mortar lined, then this is for cast iron. So steel compared to cast iron, steel is having the higher roughness. Then plastic smooth material, you can see the lowest value. Smooth material or fine material of plastics, asbestos, which is having the lowest value of roughness. Understood? Now these are the various roughness values of different conditions of the channel, and this is for man, which is most important formula for open channel. Open channels, normally still we are using Manning's formula. So open channel flow, whenever you want to compute your discharge and you want to design the channel, we need to go for this Manning's formula. And Chezy's formula, if you take, the formula is V is equal to C into RS. Now C is the coefficient, Chezy's coefficient, and your RS hydraulic mean radius, R is equal to A by P. And normally C and N are related. I think this derivation we have seen in the last hydraulics last semester. So C is directly, because in the pipe hydraulics you might have seen this. If you want to relate your pipe flow, in the pipe flow, same thing is applicable for pipe flow. If it is a PVC inner layer, then it is considered as a pipe flow. But only the difference is that you have the pressure is piezometric pressure in case of pipe flow. But in open channel flow, only the pressure is atmospheric pressure. Otherwise, we can use both the formula for open channel as well as for the pipe flow. Okay, both are applicable. And here you can correlate your N as well as Manning's roughness. Manning's roughness is nothing but small n, and your C is nothing but your Chezy's coefficient. So your Chezy's coefficient and Manning's roughness are interrelated, and they are having the relationship between C and N. C is equal to R raised to 1 by 6 divided by N. Okay, and now if I want to have a C value with the Darcy's friction factor, Darcy's Weisbach formula, you have no FLV square. This is for pipe flow. When you are talking about pipe flow, then this formula you can make use of, because Darcy Weisbach equation, in that you need to have your F. I think FLV square divided by 2GB, right? This is for finding out the friction loss. So this F is nothing but your friction, Darcy's friction factor. So if you know F, you can compute the C, and if you know C, you can compute N also. Or directly, if you know C directly, if you are knowing the value of N, you can substitute and find out. So both formula are interrelated, both your Manning's formula and Chezy's formula. But both the formula, they are giving only the velocity of the flow. Or once if you know velocity, how will you find out the discharge? Anybody can say? I will be able to find out what is my velocity. Now, shall I be able to find out what is my discharge? If I know velocity of the flow?
Area into velocity.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, how?
Area into velocity.
Oh, that's all. Area multiplied by velocity will give you the discharge. Same continuity equation which you have studied for the pipe flow is also applicable here. So you can know the discharge of the flow if you know the cross-sectional area and the velocity of the flow. And the velocity of the flow could be estimated by using your Darcy formula, or sorry, by Chezy's formula and Manning's formula. Both could be used. Okay. And okay. Now we will see one problem in this. Then what is meant by critical flows? I was talking about critical flow and subcritical flow and supercritical flow. So what are these different types of flows? Have you heard about Froude number? Have you heard about Froude number? Have you heard about the Reynolds number?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is Reynolds number? Hmm? No answer for that. If you ask some question, people will not open your mouth, right? Huh?
Ma'am, rho VD by eta.
Mu. But what is the definition of Reynolds number? OVD by nu is the equation. But what is the definition of Reynolds number? Huh? There are different forces you have studied in your dynamics, right? There are different forces you have studied in your dynamics. What are the forces? Huh?
Viscous force, inertial force.
Say in the order. Gravity force, pressure force, viscous force, turbulence force, then force due to shear, and then force due to elasticity. There are 6 different types of forces, right? Force due to gravity, force due to pressure, force due to turbulence, force due to shear, force due to elasticity. And now what is the Euler's equation in terms of force? How will it define an Euler equation? No idea? What is meant by Euler equation? Have you studied Euler equation last semester? Have you studied or not? Euler equation. Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me then.
dP by rho plus VdV plus dDz equal to 0.
No, I'm asking the basic definition for Euler equation. I'm not asking the equation. Basic definition for Euler equation. The same with respect to forces, how will you define the Euler equation? I think I have taught the A section. I don't know whether they have remembered this or not. Huh?
If the flow is ideal and non-viscous.
No.
Adiabatic and in viscous flow.
Hmm? Huh?
Flow is ideal and
Force due to
viscous
pressure and
force
force
is
due to gravity. Am I right? Hmm? Am I right? This is the basic definition for total forces will be equal to force due to pressure and force due to gravity. And what is, why I am talking about here is, what is the Reynolds number?
The ratio of inertial forces to viscosity.
Reynolds number nothing but ratio of inertia force divided by viscous force. And Froude number is ratio of inertia force by gravity force. And Reynolds number holds good for pipe flow. Froude number is applicable for open channel flow. That is the difference. So inertia force by viscous force is Reynolds number, inertia force by gravity force is nothing but your Froude number. And pipe flow, you will be defining the pipe flow into laminar, turbulent, am I right? Based on the value of Reynolds number. For pipe flow, if it is less than 2000, it is considered as laminar. More than 4000, it is considered as turbulent. Am I right? Last year you might have studied, last semester. The value of Reynolds number for a pipe flow. Similarly, there are classifications for Froude number. So both Reynolds number and Froude number are dimensionless numbers. There is no dimension for that. So dimensionless numbers are there. So Reynolds number, Froude number, Euler number, Mach number. There are different types of number which could be used for different conditions. Now we are studying only these two. I'm concentrating on these two. So for pipe flow, we are using Reynolds number. For open channel flow, we are using Froude number. And all these numbers are dimensionless numbers. Okay. Now, we are talking about critical flow, right? I was telling what is a critical flow. So when I am talking about critical flow, I need to use Froude number. So when Froude number is equal to unity, less than 1, greater than 1. There are 3 conditions for Froude number. So in that case, you will be classifying the Froude number. Based on the Froude number, you will be classifying the flow as either subcritical or supercritical. So when it is less than 1, it is supercritical flow. When it is greater than 1, it is subcritical flow. When it is equal to 1, it is supercritical. So it is a critical flow. So when the Froude number is equal to 1, it is a critical flow. Then otherwise, if it is less than or greater than 1, it is subcritical and supercritical flow. So when the Froude number is equal to 1 or unity, then it is a critical flow. And when it is less than 1, it is supercritical flow. When it is greater than 1, it is a subcritical flow. First class, I was telling something hydraulic jump, isn't it? I was talking something about hydraulic jump, how the hydraulic jump is formed. Okay. So when the subcritical flow is converted into supercritical flow and your hydraulic jump. So there are 2 flows. Either the flow can be before the jump, after the jump. There are 2 things. Before the jump, what is the type of flow? After the jump, what is the type of flow? During hydraulic jump, the flow is critical. During hydraulic jump, the flow is critical. Okay. So critical flow occurs only during the hydraulic jump. So I was talking about, suppose if this is going to be your structure. Here is your shutters. Suppose you are opening your shutter. Then water falls and jumps. So this is going to be your base. This is nothing but your hydraulic jump. So here your Froude number is going to be unity. This is called because this is a water surface. This is water. So when you are releasing the gate, the water actually on the downstream, this is the upstream side and this is the downstream side of the channel. Your river cross section and your structure is like this. The flow is like this. So this is the plan and this is the section. Okay, suddenly this is nothing but your gate. This structure could be anything. It could be a weir or it could be a barrage, whatever it is. The water on the upstream side and it is suddenly released. Then what happens? The water on the downstream side, it actually hits the surface and then jumps. So this condition occurs only when the Froude number is equal to unity or the flow is critical. So That is nothing but your critical flow. Now, how we are going to compute the critical flow computations for different types of the channel sections. We will see this problem, then we will come to that part later. Now, you come to the channels, aligned channel. This is visible. This problem is visible to you. Screen is visible to you. We are discussing this problem, right? Aligned channel of trapezoidal section, aligned channel of trapezoidal cross section, and you have a discharge of 8 qmax, which is at a depth of 1.2 meters, and the bottom width is at 2 meters. And you have a side slope of 1.5 horizontal to 1 vertical, 1 to 1.5. So consider the uniform flow. Calculate the following things: longitudinal slope of the channel, average shear stress, and your equivalent Darcy's coefficient. Now Froude number of the flow and Manning's coefficient. Now what is given is your bottom width of the cross section. So it is a trapezoidal channel. Bottom width is 2 meter. Depth of the flow is 1.2 meter, and side slope is 1 vertical, 1.5 horizontal. So M is 1.5. 1 vertical, 1 is to M. M is 1.5. Discharge is 8 qmax. Manning's N is 0.015. Well, directly they have given you the value of N. Now, what is the area of the flow? If it is a trapezoidal section, you know the formula B. A is equal to B plus, sorry, B in By plus My square. You can see here your area of trapezoidal section is By plus My square. Maybe you can see the area of the trapezoidal channel section. You can see area By plus M into Y square, and area of the channel trapezoidal section is found out, and your area wetted perimeter is wetted perimeter of the trapezoidal section is B plus 2y into square root of 1 plus M square. So substituting, and you are getting the wetted perimeter, and your hydraulic mean radius is A by P. A is known, P is known, so A by P will give you the hydraulic radius, and velocity of the flow is discharge divided by, because Q is equal to AB, then V is equal to Q by A. So discharge is given to you 8 qmax divided by area you have already found out. So you'll be able to find out what is the velocity of the flow. Now, according to Manning's formula, you know Manning's formula, V is equal to 1 by N, half to the power 2 by 3, S to the power half. Now velocity is known to you, 1.75. N is known to you, Manning's N is known to you. At R is known to you. So unknown is S. What is S here? Longitudinal bed slope. So substituting all other parameters, you will be find out longitudinal bed slope. S is equal to 1 by 936, or you can say 1 in 940. Maybe you can round off into 1 in 940. So 1 vertical, 940 is your horizontal. Okay, that is the actual meaning of it. So this is the longitudinal slope, bed slope. So first component is found out, longitudinal slope of the channel. Then second component is, maybe now you just see the formula, then I will discuss in the velocity of the channels. So average shear stress is nothing but your tau naught is gamma into R into, yes, where gamma is nothing but your weight density of the material, and R is the hydraulic mean radius, and S is the slope. Okay, and substituting this, you'll be getting what is the bed stress. This is tau naught is nothing but actually bed stress, and your value of Sturgis coefficient is C is equal to square root of 8g by f. This formula is correcting your Sturgis coefficient and friction factor. Now C is equal to, and also if you want to relate C and n, this C is equal to 1 by n into r power 1 by 6. So substituting this, you'll be getting what is your C. But then if you are substituting C here, you'll be able to find out what is the F. Okay. Now this is going to, this F is nothing but what actually they have asked, what is the average shear stress over the wetted perimeter is tau naught, and what is the value of Darcy's friction coefficient, F. So F is also we have found out. Now what is the Froude number? Froude number for uniform flow condition is V by square root of GD. This is the formula, you just remember. We will not sharing it. You are always people are telling at the last moment. Why?
Like one minute.
This is the problem which we are discussing now. Now we are able to see. I don't know, somebody is unsharing. I am sharing it, or anybody is doing any kind of practices. I don't know. Because I am able to share, but I don't know how it is going in between. Every time I cannot do the changes. So here is what you have seen now. Bottom width of the cross section, B, and depth of the flow is given, side slope is given, discharge is given, Manning's end is given. So I am finding out area, wetted perimeter. Then if you know area and wetted perimeter, you can find your hydraulic radius, and velocity of the flow is Q by A, area is known. And Manning's formula is V is equal to 1 by n r raised to 2 by 3 raised to the power half. Substitute the values, find what is your S, longitudinal bed slope. Then your average shear stress is tau naught is equal to gamma into RS. Find out what is your tau naught. Then your Sturgis coefficient is 8g by f, relation between your Sturgis coefficient and f value. Then from this you find out what is your value of, so we know already n, because C and n are related with C is equal to 1 by n, r power 1 by 6. So n is known, r is known, find C. After finding C, substitute here, find f. So F is also found out. So 3 part of the problem is over. Longitudinal slope, average shear stress, then Darcy's coefficient. Now what is Froude number of the flow? Froude number actually by definition, the Froude number for a uniform flow, because you can see the condition is given uniform flow. Assume the flow is uniform. For uniform flow, the Froude number is V by square root of GD, where D is the, where D is the hydraulic mean depth. What is hydraulic mean depth? A by T. Already we have seen A by T. A is the area of the trapezoidal channel section. T is the top width. Top width is nothing but 2 plus 2 by for a trapezoidal channel section. Now you know A by T, substitute, you can be able to find out what is the D, and substitute here, you will be able to find out your F. So now Froude number is 1.75 less than 1, hence it is going to be your subcritical flow. Okay, so based on the value of Froude number, you can classify the flow as either subcritical or supercritical or critical flow. So for this lined channel, which is trapezoidal in cross section, when it is carrying a discharge of 8 Qmax at a depth of 1.2 meter, bottom width is 2 meter, and side slope is 1.5, and bed slope is 1 in 940, the flow is going to be subcritical flow. That is the conclusion from this problem. Okay, and I think we will continue in the next class, same components. Tomorrow we have class, right? Tomorrow we will continue, and if you please tell me one more class, 1 or 2 classes I need within this week. Maybe shall we have it on Saturday? Divya, you please inform me. We'll have one more class. Okay. Class rep, you please inform me. I will take one more class on Saturdays.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, pa. Any clarifications? Any doubts?
No, what is gamma?
Gamma is that weight density of the material.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, pa. Okay, then. Okay, then we will close it. We'll see tomorrow class.
Thank you, ma'am.